The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Need a show about outdoor living? This is where it's at. With your hosts, Shane Chapman and Way Laurent. Thank you for tuning in. Now let the show begin. Yeah. The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Let's go.
Welcome back, everybody. Ultimate Deck Podcast. Wade and Shane in the house. Beautiful day out there today, Wade.
It's like balmy. It's a balmy +2 today.
Shot of snow we had is melting a little bit. It's actually supposed to get nicer next week. Fraser showed there's plus temperatures in the forecast. Like, the snow might leave yet.
Time to get in here, take advantage of some sales, and build a deck next week.
Right? Pretty tough thing to convince people to do once the snow hits the first time.
It's over.
Like, it could be 100 degrees out next week, and it probably wouldn't really matter. But anyway,
Like,
what have you been up to?
If it was 100 degrees out, it would matter.
I don't think it would. Nope.
Or be dead
Because the
everywhere.
forecast would just be like 100 degrees for the next 3 days, sure. But then back to -30. Well, not -30, but like 0 next week. Takes longer than 3 days to go from like not even planning to building a deck to building it and done deck.
Yep.
For most people. So what have you been up to? Haven't seen you in a while. You're down here in Regina right now.
What?
Yeah.
Didn't you see me
Haven't
yesterday?
you? Well, I did. I mean, like, since we recorded the podcast last week. No, I didn't see you yesterday.
Oh, no.
You got in here late last night. No. You got late. You were gone yesterday.
Tuesday night. Yeah.
And I wasn't here either. So even if
Yeah.
you were here, I wouldn't have seen you.
Funeral yesterday. Like, I don't know what I've been up to. Like, I've been spending some time in the Saskatoon store. I've been hanging out at the rink with some kids hockey.
Oh, yeah.
I
Fixed your back since we
gotta-
talked last.
So here is a new event that I've started.
Okay.
I have started curling.
Yeah, that's a sign.
What happens when you get old?
Old age.
If you give up on hockey.
In
I've
Saskatchewan?
played one hockey game this year, maybe two.
Yeah.
But I've curled 2 times, 3 times. I've invested. I bought a pair of curling shoes. They have like a
Holy smokes.
slider on the side.
You're all in. Okay.
So I was having some back problems, and that would imply that it's gone. It's not gone. I believe that
I thought you fixed it.
I fixed the worst part of it. So I was doing chiropractor and massage weekly because I was like, this is really bad. I can't tie my shoes and my one leg is numb. I was like, this is a problem. Numb. I have a numb leg. No good. So I went to the chiropractor and he was like, well, you know what? We should get an x-ray. And I said, that sounds great. We need to escalate this. I got an x-ray.
Yep.
My L4 was out of place.
Okay.
So then I go curling.
Yep.
And I was sweeping a rock and I felt it pop back in while I was like sweeping the rock. And I went straight vertical. I was almost certain that I was going to be paralyzed because I felt it click, right? I felt it move. I was like,
Like, you didn't fall. You just like
I slipped.
slipped and like,
No,
jarred
it was while I was sweeping. I was like, I fully extended.
oh, you
Like,
didn't even slip.
No, I didn't even slip. I was like sliding along, sweeping, but then like had extended my arm and all of a sudden was like, boink. And I felt it pop in. And then I panicked and I stood up and was like, oh no, I'm in trouble. But what happened was the sensation came back in my leg immediately. The pain was gone immediately. I was like, this is amazing. So then continued on.
Crazy. Okay. And this is where the story ends for me. That's the last update I got. People have been asking me like at hockey, like, Wade's still messed up. I'm like, no,
Good.
this story. Let me tell you.
So then I went and met the chiropractor. We got the x-rays back.
Okay.
I have a very funny sacrum.
So wait, he diagnosed that your L4 and L whatever were
Just
out
L4 was out.
before x-rays. Just feeling
Sideways.
around.
Yeah. He was like, something's wrong here.
Okay.
This is not right. So then we get the x-ray and L4 is out. And then he
Confirmed.
told me that I needed to do core exercises.
Out.
And I
Done.
was like,
Put me to sleep,
isn't
doctor.
there a surgery that we can do instead? Can't we do spinal surgery of some kind instead?
Yeah.
As opposed to core exercise? I'm not doing that. I'll take the super invasive risky surgery as opposed to doing some sit-ups. No, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyways, what the x-ray shows is that I have a sacrum. As do
you
you.
should. Yeah.
Mine's there.
Yeah.
This is great news.
Still there.
What happens is apparently when you're born, your sacrum is multiple lumbars. It's so like what happens is you kind of have like a L5, but when you're born, you have like L6, L7, and L8, and then
Fuse.
6, 7, and 8 fuse.
Okay.
Mm,
Yours didn't fuse?
not always. Just the top one didn't. So 7 and 8 joined, 6 independent.
So you have you have a real tail.
I have a real tail.
The rest of us evolved to no tail.
Yeah.
You have a real tail.
And I'll show people. You ask me, I'll show you. So anyways, he was like, that probably won't be a big deal. Like, it'll be fine. What is a big deal is that I have arthritis on my lower back. And he was like, it's right here and right here. And he showed me, and I was like, so what's the plan? He was like, well, we already covered this. Core exercises. And I was like, pain for the rest of my life. Got it. So that's kind of it. Now I have to figure out how to do some core exercises. So
Yeah, just plank and shit.
that's the one that people keep coming up with. I was like, I don't like sit-ups. I hate sit-ups. I don't want to do them. He was like, well, you don't have to do sit-ups. You could do planks, or you can do medicine ball work. And I was like, yeah, work. This all sounds like a lot of work. So anyways, we'll see what happens. Currently, I'm just using drugs. I'm like Tylenol and Advil, and that's kind of
So
what I
was your
use.
back bothering you before this because of arthritis?
It must have been. Like, my back is always sore. I'm
Right.
always in a state of like,
I've probably got arthritis too and just don't know it.
what's your pain? Like what's your level of pain right now at a scale of 10? If anybody asked me that, I would be like 2 to 3. Like, always there. There's always some level of pain.
Right.
But when I go to the chiropractor and the massage therapist weekly, I'm operating at likely an 8 or a 9. Like I have to really prepare myself to put my socks on. I have to like stretch and then do some deep breathing and then hold my breath and then like throw my body forward and be like, oh, and just like,
When your back was buggered up, like during the pre-curling fix, you're saying it was 8 or 9.
yes. And now to
Not
put my
anymore.
socks on, I'm like a 6. It still hurts a lot.
To bend over.
Yep. And so I do like left leg, no problem. Like socks go on my left leg, no problem. Boom. Right leg, lots of problems. Still not perfect over there.
And they're like,
They won't do the invasive surgery that I've asked for.
and
They
you're holding out on the core exercises.
they
So
need
it's
me
just-
to start doing some exercises, and I'm like,
I'd like to negotiate this.
what about morphine?
Your body, dude. I don't give a shit.
That's exactly
you.
And so
Do
that's
these or not.
Dr. Tim, my chiro guy, was like, well, I've done my part. And I was like, yeah, but it's like, really, you can lead a horse to water. I feel like that's what you've done. So
So what's doing core exercises supposed to do for
apparently it just strengthens everything.
arthritis?
And then and then your back doesn't have as much fatigue because your stomach is holding it all in place.
Like, I wonder if anybody else in the world knows about these things.
Everybody does, apparently. It's just like brand new news to me. It's
Like,
not even brand new news to me.
You
I
should
already
tell
knew
the
this.
world. Other people probably aren't aware of this whole like taking care of their body type thing. This is
You know who does? Scott Kelly is taking care of his body right now.
Mm,
You see that guy?
now he does.
He's going to be down. He said to me yesterday, he told me he's going sub 200 before Deck Expo.
Oh, he's at like 202. So that's like just skip a couple meals
Big
and he's
poop.
there.
Yeah, but he doesn't skip meals. He meal preps. He gets them all ready every night.
Oh well, that works even better.
I'm gonna wrestle him
He's
when we
one
see him.
big shit away from being like sub 200.
At sub 200 pounds, I got him. I would take him.
Think so? Yeah.
No, I don't think so. But if I got on top of him, he couldn't get me off. It'd be like 220.
Well,
I mean, wrestle him down. It'd be over. He'd be in a big old chokehold.
I agree. It'd be harder to get you off if you were on top. But
Because
anyway,
of the back pain.
right? Yeah, right.
Yeah. So curling, I don't know. I want to play hockey again, but I just seem to I'm scared.
Hurt myself
It
all the
hurts so
time.
much now, you know?
Well, if you play hockey and then you'd hurt something else, so you'd forget
My
the
forearm.
back as much.
I'm a tennis elbow in my forearm.
Yeah, so you'd tear a bicep trying to
It's
think.
bad news, buddy. This whole getting old stuff is not ideal.
Not ideal. It's not my back that bothers me at hockey. It's more my groin than anything. It's like I have a problem with
Pull
my
your groin too
groin.
much.
It's like once this year at the start of the year, it was like, well, that's bad. I'm only gonna be out for a while. But then I was lucky to have a 2-week break, and it actually was like by the time I went back, it was okay again.
Miraculously.
And then I kind of like pulled it again in another game. I was like, this is bullshit.
tweaked it.
But I play on 2 different teams, and each team has had a guy that's tore a bicep this year. And then you knew a guy a couple of years ago that tore a bicep.
It's the
all
grossest thing.
all three of them reported the exact same thing. Felt an initial burn of something. I think Kurt, maybe you told me this or not, but
Yeah.
if not, like the other 2 guys first 2 were like, yeah, I felt like something kind of like burned like in my elbow, my bicep. I wasn't really sure. And then later I did a poke check and fucking boom, like bicep rolled up on me. And so we were talking about
3 for 3 on poke checks.
Yeah.
Is a true story.
on the the warning burn, and then a poke check to
Yep.
go. So in the dressing room last week, it's like, listen, if you feel a burn at the bottom of your bicep and your elbow at
Leave.
hockey, stop there.
Leave the game.
Yeah.
Go drink beer.
Because the next step, torn bicep. The last guy that did it was a 30% tear. So his didn't roll up his arm, but he's out for
Do you
6 to 8
think
weeks.
that's better or worse?
That's we were talking about that too. It's like, is that
I
one of
think
those
it's
ones
way
where
worse.
it's like worse because they don't go in it, they can't do a surgery on that.
Right.
If they tear it, they go back in, they reattach it, and then it heals up and you're good to go. With the other one, you just have to stay immobile for 6 to 8 weeks.
Right, but you have 30% tears. So what happened? Like the other 70%'s like, oh, we got it. We'll go back down there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
They don't
how
go
that
back down there.
part works. Maybe you just lose
And the-
30% strength too.
Right, and the other, it's like that. It's just not reattaching. Like stuff you ripped off isn't going back now.
Yeah,
It's
I don't know
gone.
what happens. Like I don't know what that even means. Like 30% tear. Does that mean like 30% of the fibers detached? Is that what that means?
Sure,
does
that's
it
what
mean,
I
like-
think.
Or does it mean like it's stretched and lost 30% of its elasticity or something? Like I don't know
No
what that
chance.
actually means.
That what has to have happened is the rope got held out and 30% of it is frayed and gone back.
Yeah,
And
so
they're
that's still like fairly gross.
Right, but what I'm saying is like nobody's fixing that.
Right.
The rope's not going back together.
Yeah.
You need that whole thing to come off. You need it to roll up in your arm. Yeah.
The guy
Wow.
that happened to, the most recent guy even said, he's like, then I did the poke check and I felt it like something like pop.
Bonk.
And he's like, and then I just got like sick to my stomach. He's like, I immediately was like, like, didn't know what it was, but it's like made me sick.
Yeah. My body was like,
That's-
puke.
Yeah.
How is that the reaction? Your arm sore. Puke.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks,
I don't
Brian.
know, but it is what it is. So,
You? How are you? What's going on?
not much. I was
The
going to get to
boys.
the topics. I was like, we're a ways in here. Not
Who
much.
cares?
The kids are like, they're well into hockey. So I got one kid doing two ice times on the weekend and one doing one ice time on the weekend. And then they were both trying karate on Monday nights.
Oh, you got a couple of ninjas there. Hey?
Yeah, they were both.
As if you need to train those two to fight more.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. But maybe to fight safer? I don't know. Maybe. But Casey's not really taking to the karate. Avery Moore is. He's still going. Casey's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And
Casey
so-
seems like a sweeter dude. Like he wouldn't want to actually fight.
He's getting to that stage now, though, where he's being a little jerk at home, too.
Like Avery beat that into him. He had like that's
Probably.
a self-defense
He's
mechanism.
taken it for a while. Now he's starting to give it back. He's getting a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So that, and then I'm playing more hockey than I ever have before, too. We have a bit of a break right now. But, yeah, home is just chaos. So hockey's my peaceful time.
How's your new furniture?
Good. Great. Love it. Got a new cat. Boy, a lot's happened lately. Cat, furniture, not a good combo, but
Yeah, you should have got the cat.
never.
You should have got the cat
Practicing on the old furniture.
shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spade.
Yeah.
My dad used to call it spade. So he used to, like, we had a cat when we were growing up, like his kids, and it would have a litter like every year, twice a
Yeah.
year. It was always, there was so many kittens around when we were growing up.
This one is a kitten.
And dad
The only one.
used to spade the cats, which meant he would hit them over the head with the spade shovel.
Jesus.
And so, anyways,
Yeah. So she
I didn't learn that until much later in life what that meant.
Yeah, I
It
bet.
was like, oh, Dad, that was actually pretty bad. You shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. There was probably a better way.
Should've
Could have
just
just
given
given
them
us away.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got this cat from it was a kitten on my in-laws farm. It was a barn cat, and the mother had kind of like abandoned these kittens, so they were getting
Go
kinda
get your own
scrawny and
mice.
not doing so well. So I think there was 3 of them. 2 of them went to the neighboring farm. They're like, we could use cats, and they take really good care of them. So 2 of them went there, and then this one was like super cute little thing, and so it ended up in the house, which was kind of their rule before. It was like the cats don't come in the house, like the barn cats stay outside because we don't want them ever getting too like homey around here.
Yeah, they're mousers, man. On a farm, you
Yeah.
have to have mousers.
Exactly. And so this one was too cute, I guess, and they brought it in the house, and there was like, well, now somebody's taking it. So it was actually destined to go to Prince Albert.
That's
My
where it should have went.
brother-in-law had a friend or somebody that was like, we'll take it. Then we went down there for a weekend. The kids fell in love with it. And my wife was like, well, maybe we should just bring it home for 2 weeks. I was like, come on. Like, you don't even believe what you're saying right now. That cat's not coming home for 2 weeks and then coming back here. You know damn well. Well, no. Like, if the kids are... No.
You know damn
that
well.
cat comes home, it's staying home. We all know this. Why are we pretending it's
Yeah,
not? Sorry,
yeah.
that happened. But yeah, it's a pretty cute cat. So
It likes your
I
new
guess
furniture. You got it litter trained yet?
It's getting better. It was having some issues, but we went and got it like
Dewormed.
and ear mites taken care of. And
Isn't that the
now it's
grossest thing? The deworming situation.
Well, I don't know that it actually had worms. Like nothing ever
Oh.
came out of it, but they gave it the shot of, or like the
medicine, whatever.
medicine
just
for
drink
it.
it. Don't they just eat it? It's just like
yeah, it was in a like a
syringe?
some pasty stuff in a syringe.
Yeah.
Shot it in her mouth, and it was like that was the end of it. There's no worms that came out or anything. So
okay. So I did that when
she definitely had ear mites though.
yeah.
So that's over now too. So
What's
now
that
she's
look like?
Like I don't know, like they're fleas essentially that just live in the ears of a cat, and so they swab like with a Q-tip essentially, and then they take that under a microscope, and they're like, "Yep,
You got
definitely some ear mites in there."
the mites. Okay.
So they take her to the back, and like I don't know, I didn't see it, but she came back wet around her head. So I assume they wash the ears out and kind of manually clean them, and then they put a topical medicine on the back of their neck where they can't lick it off. Just like it must just absorb into their skin, and then fleas don't like that. So any that they don't get physically cleaning them out, just they move out into the kids' ears.
Yeah, I was like, they moved out in your house?
Yeah.
Almost for sure JC thought that was a great spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that'd be great if we
So
could
the
have ear
cat's
mites.
fine. She's acting all normal. The kids are scratching like crazy. So anyways, she's normal. She had like diarrhea when she came off the farm. That was like 2 weeks of that crap, and now she's like getting better there, and like everything's getting a little bit better now. So anyways, we have a cat.
Worms are the worst. We picked up a dog off the farm years ago. Max, when we got him.
Yeah.
And we gave him the dewormer, and that was like he was full.
Really?
Of, like right full of worms. It was like
Wow.
a week of shit that was full of worms, and I was like, this is awful.
Are the worms still like alive when they come out, or it's like the medicine kills them and then they just pass? They
Medicine
stop
kills them.
holding on.
That's right. Yeah, medicine kills them and then they pass. But it was like
Weird.
the first one that came out was almost solid worms. There was like not much
Jeez.
and not much waste, just worms. And I was like, I think we should kill the dog. I don't think we should have this anymore. Anyways, luckily Max didn't get killed from that, but
He was pretty closer than he thought. Okay, today's episode, after all that, is about we researched 15 different ways that a deck building business might go out of business. Boy, like small businesses are hard to run in the first place, and contracting businesses are are notorious for going out of business because often contracting businesses are started by people who are really good at their craft, know how to build a deck or know how to do it, whatever trade it is,
yeah.
but not often great at running the business. And so they get themselves in trouble because they don't understand the business side, even though they understand their craft really well. And so this topic today, we were just kind of like, you know what, we've never really talked about this before. It's like what to watch out for, what to make sure you're good at. Because like often it's neglect. It's like, I didn't know I was supposed to be doing that, or I wasn't paying enough attention to that and it got away from me. So it's like, what are these things? If we bring some light to them, maybe somebody's like, ooh, boy, I should check
You know
into
what?
that.
Maybe what's happening is we got some people that are listening that are like failing at one or two. And so
Yeah.
their business isn't going to fail. They're just like, maybe they're just struggling a little bit. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, if I just cleaned that one thing up,
Right. It's kind of
I
dragging
could
me
be
down.
loaded.
So 15 items that we got here, and so we're going to go through them one by one. I don't think these are ordered in any sort of like, they're not weighted in any way, but
Certainly look ordered to me. They're numbered.
well, I mean, it's a numbered list, but I don't think it's like I don't think number one is the most common way people go to business.
Boy, reading
certainly
that
could be,
list, I'd have to guess that's probably it, though.
Okay, well, maybe it is. So number one is poor workmanship and quality control. This one's obviously a doozy. But if you don't do good work, you're probably not going to last very long.
Number
you can only
one.
you can only get away with that for so long.
Yeah, you can only hide that for a little bit. You know?
So many businesses talk about how they don't market themselves, which I'm sure that's going to come up here at some point, but they don't market themselves because they get so much word of mouth and referrals. But if you do poor workmanship, that ends there. So like you can't rely on that whatsoever. And for many contractors, that's their biggest source of additional work is referrals and word of mouth.
Yep.
So make sure you know what you're doing. So if you can't run the business and you can't do the craft, you're in a lot of trouble.
Dissatisfied customers, negative reviews, bad reputation, ultimate loss in business.
So not a good one. Make sure you are good at what you do before you decide to do it for a living. Number two, underpricing services. This one, I believe, would be like, this one gets a lot of guys and gals. A lot of
Unfortunately,
good
it's
crafts
because they
people
don't
too.
even know what their pricing should be.
Right.
How many of those, you know what I could do is I could get everybody in those Facebook groups that we're a part of, those like deck builders and the 101 framing and all these like different elite deck builder, blah, 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 all those things.
Yeah.
If everybody in the group gave me $1 for every time somebody was like, hey, quoting a deck, how much do you guys charge for this?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to work.
Yeah.
Because there's hundreds of thousands of people, and at least once a day, somebody doesn't know what to price things at.
Yep.
And it's like, how can you ask that question of somebody who's not even in your business? They don't know what your business costs.
Right.
It's the silliest thing.
Yep. So we just talked about this. Was it last episode? I think, or the one before? I think it was last one where we talked about like what's in that $90.
They all run
An hour.
together, really.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But what's
yeah.
in that $90 an hour? And it's like, if you don't understand what's in that $90 an hour, then you're probably underpricing your services. So for a lot of guys, like what all they think about is what do I want to make per hour? It's like, well, if I make $30 an hour, I'm happy. So then they charge $30 an hour, or what the equivalent of $30 an hour.
Or sometimes they're even like 60. I'll just double it.
Yeah. Or they
That's
might
not
round
enough
it
either.
or top it up or something to whatever, but they don't have a good understanding of everything that goes into their business. So if you don't make sure you're including all your labor costs and your, like, obviously there's materials to account for, but your overhead is the one that's, I feel like, is the
Overhead.
hardest one for people to figure out.
They don't know.
They don't know how to like take all of their expenses in a year and break it down to an hourly like rate, I guess, of sorts, to make sure that they're charging enough hourly to cover all those extra overhead things.
Yeah.
It's like they don't even know how to take like, oh, my business license is $300 a year. How do I account for that in whatever? Like they don't even want to do that math or know how to do that math. So underpricing is for sure it. And so, and a lot of people are guilty of this because they think that they need to lower the price to win jobs, and they do so foolishly, not knowing, like maybe they even on paper were like, I'm going to charge this much. And if they did, that would be good. But then they find themselves continuously discounting things to win jobs all the time. And what they don't know they're doing is they're cutting too deep and losing money on every job.
Yeah, because you probably don't have enough to do. You probably don't have enough built in there to even do that.
Right. Yeah.
I hate that people ask for discounts. It bugs me so
It's a
much.
super dangerous one. And it's also because most people try to get into a market by being priced low. And it's like, that's a tough thing to ride out. You're not Amazon. You can't just take losses for 10 years until you find a way to be profitable.
Nope.
You need to figure that out sooner than later.
Mm-hmm. There's a good chance
so it's
you don't
dangerous.
even have 1 year to figure that out.
Yep.
Yeah.
You might get 1 year until you show up at the account and they're like, you're effed.
You owe
Why?
$31,000 in taxes. And they're like, nope.
You're behind the eight ball.
No,
before
I
you
don't
get
owe
going.
that. I couldn't have. I have zero money in my bank account.
Number 3, overextension on projects. So either taking on too many projects at once or taking something that the scale is just beyond your ability now. So that's a dangerous one too. Biting off more than you can chew, essentially.
Yeah. Have you done that? You ever done that?
I have taking on more than I could handle, like in number of projects. No, taking on a project that I was like, this is probably too big for me. Absolutely. But it worked. They worked out. I didn't end up burying myself, but certainly there were some jobs where I was like, this is bigger than me.
I had somebody ask me to, this is back when I was doing like renovation work, and I was really good at doing basement renovations. Like if their house flooded and they were like, I just need the whole basement redone.
Yep.
I was like, no problem. I could go in there. Because I understood what I was doing. Right. And so it was like,
Yep.
I was able to remove the drywall and blah, blah, blah. I had an electrician. It was like a 2-man crew, and I had a plumber. It was a 2-man crew, and I had a drywaller. It was a single, like one dude. So this was all going to work for me. But I got into a house that was shifting really bad, and it was a 4-level split. I didn't really understand how the house was even put together. And I started down the path of quoting that job. And then like, I think I was probably 2 or 3 weeks into trying to quote this job. And I finally went back to the house and was just like, I can't do this job. And they were like, what? You've been gone for 2 weeks. And I was like, I thought I could do it, but I can't. I don't understand what we need to do here.
Yeah.
Your house is so out of level, and it's in multiple places it's out of level, and I don't know where to pick part of this house up. and I don't know who to contact to like shift this. And I actually think that my best solution for you is to have a house fire and get insurance.
And that I can do.
And that I can do.
That's what we decide here.
For the low fee of $10,000, I could burn this whole thing down.
Yeah.
And then you can get some insurance. So
Yeah.
anyways, I ended up referring them to him. But I was about to take that on, and that would have sunk me for sure.
Yeah, and that's hard.
Absolutely would have
Sometimes
been
you get big eyes and you're like, oh, what an opportunity. But if you're not prepared and you don't have the resources and you don't have the like either financial resources or the people, you're going to just end up in like missing deadlines, pissing people off.
It was going to be bad.
Be good.
That one was
doing the
gonna be
work
bad.
improperly and having to redo things.
That's what was going to happen. I was going to do it improperly.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know who to call. I was just going to do it myself.
Yeah.
So
can get dangerous.
that's a tough one to admit that you're not going to be able to do it, you know?
Number 4, inadequate business management. So lack of experience and skills in managing a business, which is kind of what we talked about right from the start. But anything from like managing your finances to like dealing with employees, if you don't know how or don't pay enough attention to those aspects, those finer details, that can sink you in a hurry.
Certainly ties into number 2, right? The underpricing services.
Yep, part of it for sure.
If you don't
But it's like if you don't like. Sometimes contractors, I'm not trying to paint everybody the same brush, but sometimes you're coming from a crude background. Like sometimes the guys are pretty rough, and it's like they don't know how to be empathetic with their customers or with their employees. Maybe they don't know how to hire people properly, so they're hiring bad people all the time. They don't bother like getting in with a bookkeeper right away or an accountant to help them with that, so they don't manage their finances properly. Just like general bad business management. So,
Yep.
Number 5, insufficient marketing. There it is.
Yeah.
So, especially at the start, like you don't have those referrals built up, but if you don't earn the referrals either, like, and again, a lot of contractors, this isn't their expertise. They don't know how to do that.
They don't want to do marketing.
And they don't want to have to pay for it yet either, because maybe they're new or whatever, but it's like, or maybe they just don't believe in it. They just don't think it's like worth paying for.
Yeah.
But if you don't have some sort of way to generate leads coming into your business and you're just hoping that the phone will ring because you put a sign up in the yard, which is a small bit of marketing that you're doing, but like it takes a long time to build up a network of referrals. In the meantime, how are you getting that business?
And maybe the radio guy gets to them, and then
Which then they're really in trouble.
well, but they don't know.
Yeah.
What the best part is that people work, like you have these construction companies and they work all day, every day outside listening to the radio or inside or whatever.
Yep.
And so you know what you hear on the radio? Ads. You hear ads from your competitors.
Yep.
Or the people you purchase from, and you're like, that's so good, man. It's like, I totally heard that ad. I'm doing it. I'm going to buy an ad.
Yep.
And then they talk to the radio guy and it's like $51 gazillion. And you're like, well, cash flow positive right now. You're not. You don't know.
Yeah.
Because you don't know your books.
There's money in the bank.
I got money in the bank. I could do this. So you pay her $51 gazillion for radio, and they take a whole handful of advertising and they throw it at a wall for 7 days.
And then you hear it on the radio all the time, affirming your decision.
Because
Because you hear it.
it's the radio station you listen to.
And that's fun. Hear your name on the radio.
Right? How fun is that? That's the worst money ever. That's got to be the
And then the
worst.
phone doesn't ring anymore. You're like, what's going on here? Number 6, competition. So obviously, depending on the market, you might be in a very competitive market. I know there's a lot of guys in those same Facebook groups you mentioned there that are like, how are you charging that? There's no way I can do that. There's no way I can charge for estimates because nobody in my market charges for estimates. And some guys are just in markets that are not like, some guys are lucky enough to have it kind of cornered, and other guys are competing with a lot of people. And then that often results in you dropping your price, which refer back to number 2, puts you in trouble. But you got to find a way to differentiate yourself. So if you can't put out better quality or communicate your value better than the other guys, then you're basically left with competing on price, which is, I mean, this whole episode's about how you go to business.
That'll do it right there.
Yeah. Number 7, economic turndowns. So this is a hot topic right now. Like I think the U.S. is officially in a recession. Canada is like, I don't know, it's felt awful for years. I don't know that we're officially in it yet, but regardless, the economy, well, I mean, look at COVID.
What do you mean you don't know if we're in it? How could you think we're not in it? Interest rates are climbing. Nobody's lending us money anymore.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to trade with anyone.
Yeah. So sometimes there's an an economic reason that the phone stops ringing. It's absolutely, people are going through that right now. It's like not just deck builders, but like you hear a lot of small businesses been like, is anybody else? Like normally this time of year our phone's ringing off the hook, and it's like not right now. And everybody else is like, yep, like here it is. This is what we've been waiting for.
Some of this stuff is impossible to, like, it's impossible for you to affect the change on this.
Yeah.
But this goes back to like competition and marketing. So in an economic downturn, that there are people that are going out of business, but there are still people that are insulated from an economic downturn. Basically, government employees will always kind of get paid. They will they'll always kind of have money. And so some of those people will continue to renovate their home.
Yeah.
Decks or windows or whatever it is. Or maybe you need to maybe you don't do decks for a while. You're a carpenter, you know how to build things. So maybe you got to branch out and do some windows and doors for a bit just to help, you know? So
there's certainly if you're one of the good ones, like if you run a good tight ship and you do good work and you have a good brand, good name, everything else, you're fine through these moments in time because you're still going to get hired by those people you just mentioned that still have income in. Like nothing ever stops at zero. It doesn't grind to zero.
Doesn't go to zero. It just gets harder to stand out.
Right. And if there's 100 deck builders in your market during really slow times, that probably slows to 30. But as long as you're one of the top 30, then you can still make it work. You might have to make some changes. Like maybe you normally run 6 crews and now you're down to 3 or 4 or something like that. There may be some tough decisions to make, but it won't put you out of business necessarily. Whereas if you're in the bottom 70, you just can't get enough business. There's not enough out there. You were winning jobs that the other guys weren't taking before, and now there's the other guys are taking all of them because there's just less of them going around.
Yep.
So certainly that can play an impact, and it kind of sucks because that one's kind of out of your control.
Yeah.
Number 8, regulatory and legal issues. So if you're like, this kind of ties into number 1 too with the quality control and workmanship, but if you are ignorant to building codes, your local regulations, your zoning, etc., you may find yourself in a world of hurt right away. Things might be going just fine, and all of a sudden that starts to unravel on you, and that's a tough thing to bounce back from.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you have all these callbacks, you got to go fix, you got to tear a whole project down that you made.
It's an expensive mistake.
You do it, and it's like,
right? Like if you end up in regulatory or legal issues, typically those aren't a couple $1,000s. Typically they're a lot.
Yeah.
It's like a $10,000 mistake.
And you haven't been charging enough, so you have nothing in the bank to take on a legal fight. It's just like you need everything to go perfectly all the time. Everybody needs to pay their bill on time and pay you properly and everything just to be staying above water. And the second you get caught with an unexpected expense, i.e. getting sued or not paid, that's the end of it.
Yep.
Number 9, cash flow problems. So cash flow management can lead to an inability to purchase materials, pay staff, or cover other essential costs. So that can be tough too, especially because for many deck builders, it is a seasonal business. So you kind of got to make hay while the sun shines and then hibernate in the winter, potentially, if you're not working all the way through. But even if you are, you're certainly you're going to have a dip in revenue. You're not going to be working as much in the winter. So you got to make sure you kind of put cash in the right places and plan for things.
This is always tough for us. This is one of the things we struggle with the most.
100%. Any seasonal business that has fluctuations for whatever reason has to pay extra attention to this, making sure that you're planning for the slow times.
Yep.
And putting enough away in the busy times to manage it. It's tough.
Yep.
Number 10, lack of differentiation. So failing to differentiate from competitors with your services or your quality or your branding makes it hard to stand out. So if you're in that market that's got 100 deck builders and it's there's not enough work to go around, you got to be one of the ones that stands out for whatever reason.
You're all using the same logo, just different color,
different
font and different color, but it's the same logo.
Yeah. You got to find a way. When people ask me, what do you do? Well, I build decks. It's like, well, you all build decks, but why should I hire you over somebody else? If you can't answer that, if you don't have that thing, it makes it pretty tough.
Well, because I'm really good at it.
In a competitive market.
I've got great workmanship.
Yeah.
And I know my worth.
Could be your thing. Great workmanship. Failure to adapt is number 11. So if you don't stay on top of trends in the industry, products that are coming out, you may, this one's more of a slow death, I think, but you may slowly fall behind. So your competitors are out there and they're offering the latest and greatest in new framing options or something, or new design trends, or new spaces to build, whatever it is. You may just slowly fall out of favor with customers, your clients. You're pitching one thing. Your competitors are pitching something that's like
Fun.
new shiny object. They're likely to get picked more than you. So
Well, here's this deck. I just always run the boards to the edge and then cut them off.
Yeah.
Well, this other guy told me you could put a picture frame around it.
But I mean, a great example of this is guys who just refuse to build composite decks. They're like, no, I like wood and I've always been a wood guy. Okay, that's okay. You can be a wood guy, but you're going to lose a lot of jobs to people who are moving towards maintenance-free lifestyles. Like, that's all there is to it. And that's not even to say you can't do that. You can still run. That doesn't mean you're going out of business, but
Yep.
you need to find your niche and what differentiates you to go back to number 10.
Yep.
Like, I build wood decks, but you better build it better than the other guys too then.
Yep.
If you're going to refuse to take on some customers and focus down to that tight of a niche.
Yeah. You know where you could fix that? You could go to Deck Expo.
Right.
Then you would know about all of the new trends.
There you go. That's
See you
like,
there.
You know, that's in like, what's today? November what? First?
Second?
10 days we leave for that. You know that?
Totally prepared. Totally
I like-
prepared.
I was sitting here with Dana the other day, our bookkeeper. I think it was with Dana. Somebody, and she's like, oh, and you guys, like, you're gone here right away. I was like, gone where? She's like, aren't you guys going to like Vegas or something? I was like, oh yeah, shit. Right, yeah. Yeah, in a week and a half. Yeah.
We were putting that on the calendar on Sunday. Rhonda and I were laying that out on the calendar, and she was like, "Oh, right." And then she draws a line through. It was like, "You're going to Vegas here," and I was just like, "Holy
Right.
shit, that's in 2 weeks. There's no way I'm going to be ready for that."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Ready for what?" I was like, "Well, my to-do list is more than 2 weeks long, and
Yeah.
we got 2 weeks of putting stuff on the list."
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how this is going to happen.
It has snuck up on us.
Anyways, I can't wait.
Number 12, poor customer service. This one's pretty obvious too, but like, you can build a really nice deck, but if you are a nightmare to deal with in the
you're a deck,
process,
If you're a deck the whole time,
if you're a big deck, you're likely not going to get too far either. Now,
just like
there's
the word of
certainly
mouth.
some living proof of the to the contrary of this. Like, there's some guys in the industry that I look at and be like, how does anybody
hire that person.
hire you? Like, you are such an a-hole. But
You gonna name names?
do good
for
work. No, I'm not going to name names, but everybody can speculate. But there's just some people is like, you are so like just like in your face about things. Like, how? Maybe they're not like that with
You know
with
what
their
though? Like,
customers.
it might not be with their customers. It
Yeah.
might be with their competitors. And so, like,
Maybe.
yeah, I don't know. Also, it's like provides a way to stand out. Customer service is one of the hardest things to actually get right, I believe, because the tactics you use on one customer don't work on another. Because what's happening is you're working with personalities, and so, like, I don't know. Some people want controversial, and some people want to be cuddled, and it's just like, this is awful.
Yeah.
You need a psych degree.
But also, like,
They don't
contractors are
work
kind of notoriously bad for this sometimes. Like, no, they didn't answer the phone. I emailed for a quote 3 times. They never got back to me. They were supposed to be here at 2:00 on Friday, and they never showed up. No phone call, no nothing. Like, everybody's got stories of this. And so the ones that can, and it's a fairly simple thing, but the ones that do pay attention to this and do that, they get a boost in their, like, customers, whatever, mental rating
Yeah.
just by doing the basics. Just show up is all you have to do. And to those people like that are like, well, yeah, obviously it's like, yeah, but you get a big boost in that because a lot of guys don't just show up.
Answer your phone.
Yep.
Then
Do what you say you're gonna do.
Show up.
Yeah. Deliver the quote when you said you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Stick to your schedule.
Still
Communicate.
Oh, man.
So what's one of those things? I'm not saying it's easy. It's just simple. It's just like simple things. It's hard to do
It's hard to do.
because you're busy.
Yep.
But it's simple little things. Number 13, depending on a single revenue stream. Relying on deck building alone without diversifying services can be risky if demand for decks decreases. So this is to your point there. Like, some guys are working in super seasonal markets like ours. Some guys do try to do the deck thing all year round. Others, it's pretty common to take on basement projects in the winter or something. So if you can't make a go of it, if you can't make enough money during the 8 to 9 month building season to carry you through those other 2 months, you're going to have to diversify a little bit.
Yep.
If
Yeah.
you don't,
That's it.
you're going out of business. Number 14, lack of planning. So this is all kind of starting to tie itself together here a little bit now, but
It took a while.
cash flow planning, like we said, employee planning. There's lots of different planning aspects. This one's a bit of a catch-all, but planning for those slow periods, whether you do have to work through it or if you have tucked enough cash away, whether you've decide to charge right amount,
Yeah.
whether you're doing any marketing, like all that comes in.
Like
the
this could be
planning
even
part,
just
but-
planning out a job.
Sure.
Like if you don't plan your jobs out properly, you end up in a bunch of caca.
Yeah, all of a sudden the job's taking twice as long because, I didn't realize that there was a tree located where this deck is going.
Yeah.
Or look, there's buried lines. I probably should have got those marked.
And then you back up the next customer, and then they're mad because you didn't show up, and you're not doing what you said you were going to do, and then yeah. Anyways,
And you don't plan to spend a certain amount of hours a week putting your books together and your receipts and like
man, I'm
keeping
telling
things
you,
in
this
check.
is why planning is everything. I've been saying this
Planning is everything.
forever.
There's got to be a button for that somewhere,
I don't
isn't
think
there?
so. I think it's a different one.
And finally, number 15,
This is the worst.
inadequate insurance and bonds. So, if everything goes smoothly, then good deal. You don't ever have to worry about this. But if something goes wrong and you're not covered, you're not insured, it's just over right then and there. So if something catastrophic happens on your job site and you don't have insurance to cover it, then it's like, I know you're actually liable for the $120,000 of damages that happened because the deck detached from the house and fell on the ground, and in the process smashed 3 vehicles and somebody was injured, and so there's a lawsuit coming. And
Yeah, if somebody gets injured, that's a real bad.
and your employee cuts his thumb off and
That's
all
not that
that
bad.
shit.
That happens.
Like there's lots
That'll
of things
happen.
that can go wrong. Insurance is going to cover some of them, not going to cover some other things.
What I think
But-
probably one of the biggest takeaways from that is to be like, go sit down with your insurance provider and give them a really good description of what you do.
Yeah.
And just be like, I don't know this just as much as you don't know how to build a deck. So like, you got to be on my team here. You have to help me.
Yeah. What do I need to be protected from?
Right.
Even in the States here, it's like your own personal health insurance.
Yep.
So you go and do cut your thumb off or saw through your thigh and you can't work for 2 months or something.
Yeah.
What happens then?
Yeah.
First of all, your medical bill, if you don't have health insurance in the States, is going to be tens of thousands, if not $100,000.
Yep.
And then there's like the loss of income during that time. Do you have some sort of coverage to cover your income in the event of like major injury or debilitating injury? Like how do you make
Yeah,
it
and
through
then-
unexpected 2-3 months?
Maybe you actually like your productivity is down now.
Yep.
Like later on in life. So you come back, but it's like, but now you walk with a limp because you sawed your femur in half.
Yeah.
And then it kind of grew back together, but not perfect.
That's a violent one.
Right. But it like, dude, that could
Not
happen with a
impossible.
skill saw. Like it would happen
100%.
so fast. Like it would be real bad.
So I remember back when I was building, I had a guy that worked for me. I think it was this guy. It doesn't matter who it was, but he was telling me like in his previous job, his boss had like cut something with a skill saw and then like was cutting a bunch of things. So like pick one up, cut it, like just cross cutting 2x4s or something.
Yeah.
And then like between cuts was bringing the saw up and like rested on his leg, but the guard didn't flip down one time.
Whoa.
So the guard got stuck
Gross.
and he kind of lifted up, put on his leg, went to grab the 2x4 and slide it down to do the next cut and like right down his quad, like cut his leg wide open. Like that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to go gruesome there on
Wild.
that one, but it's like you better have coverage for shit that goes wrong on the job site.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of different things that can go wrong, and it's like it'll burr you right then and there if you're not covered.
Yeah. And it, like you were saying before, you need to make sure that if you're on somebody's job, like on their house, you need to first and foremost, like, I don't know why contractors are like this, but this is how my brain works is like, well, listen, if I hurt myself, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out, which you will. Cause you like, maybe you just end up pumping gas and your life is way less awesome. You don't go to Maui anymore,
Yeah.
but whatever, you can keep yourself above water. But if the deck falls and squishes somebody's kid, it's over for you.
Yeah.
You're bankrupt.
Your
You'll never-
trailer goes missing, and you got $10,000-$15,000 of the tools in there. Can
Yeah.
you recover from that if they're not insured? Like, there's
Nope.
all sorts of insurances out there that cover all sorts of scenarios.
So bad. So
But most small businesses that are like single man just does this thing couldn't afford to replace $20,000 trailer
Yeah.
and tools if they had to. Like,
the timing on this is actually pretty great. I'm going indoor golfing next week with an insurance guy for our company to like review all of our insurance again and like to reline it up and see if what we have for coverage is right and if it's not. And like when we talk about, just making sure when we went to Saskatoon that we did everything properly. And it's
Yep.
like, is this like, are we good? Because what happens is you don't find out until you have to use it. And then you
Right.
find out you didn't.
your
have it
building burns down. You
Yeah,
had
you're like,
insurance
"Oh."
on $1 million inventory. Turns out you had closer to 2 actually there.
Yep.
And you're only getting part of that covered because you had you weren't insured enough. You're
Yeah.
insured, but not a big
Yeah,
enough
or
one.
the other thing is like maybe you are overinsured, right? So maybe we have insurance for $2 million worth of stuff, but it's like, well, really 1.5 of it is outside. And so we're not going to lose 1.5 all at one foul swoop.
Yeah.
Unless a tornado comes through. It's like, oh, well, yeah, a tornado could come through.
Yeah.
Not likely, but it could.
Yeah.
Then what? So anyways.
Yep. So there it is. Not to be Debbie Downers, but like there's a lot of ways businesses can go out of business, and it's like just got to pay attention to these
What
things.
was the stat you told me at the very, like when on the very onset of starting this company, it was like 50% of companies go out
Oh
of
no,
business
it's much higher than that.
in the first, like it was in the first 2 years or something. It was like,
Yeah, I don't know. There's lots of different stats out there, and they're different numbers, but the common theme is that they're big numbers. It's like 50%, sure, 50% might go to business in 2 years, 90% within 5 years, and like
yeah,
98% within 10 years or something like that. So it's like if you make it outside the 10-year mark, you've done well. And the thing is, like, I also think there's like a lot of data that goes into that. That's like, oh, well, somebody started a business and maybe it wasn't even intended to be long-term, or it was only a part-time thing on the side. Like there's probably a lot of like cases where it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
that person was never fully invested and they weren't trying really hard. So for the businesses that are like planning to be in it for the long haul and dedicating, it's like their source of income, and it's like not a side job. Maybe it's a little bit lower than that, but still. So even at 10 years, let's say like 70% of it, even if it was 70%, which is much lower than the actual statistic, but even if it's 70, that's a lot.
that's a lot.
So, and the reason for those, I think those milestones, the 2, 3 to 5 year mark, is like, because sometimes that's how long it takes to figure out that you're not doing something right.
Yeah.
It's like, sometimes you
Well,
can
it
be in
takes-
trouble for 2, 3 years and you don't know you're in trouble. And it's just like, by the time you figure it out, it's too late. And so then you just go bankrupt. It's like, you can't claw your way back out of it,
Yeah.
but it takes that long to figure out that you've done that bad.
Yeah. And so maybe that's why they're numbered like that. At 2 years, you realize whether you can or can't. So some people claw it out.
Yeah.
And then at 5 years, you have like another review, like how are we doing?
Yeah.
And at 5 years, it's like, well, you clawed your way out, you're spinning your tires, you've just really recovered back to zero. And people are like, F this.
Well, and for some businesses,
5
I'm sure
years.
too, in year one, it was fine. Like they were cash flow positive because it was just them working in the business. They didn't have a bunch of overhead. They were doing it out of their basement. I'm not saying deck builders, but like,
Well, even us,
anything.
if you just talk about our story, we're like
Right.
our rent in year one was significantly different than our rent now.
yeah. And your business in year 5 looks nothing like your business in year 1.
Not even
Your
close.
business in year 1 was doing $100,000 a year and was profitable. Your business in year 5 is doing $1 million a year and is not profitable. It's
Right.
like that's possible.
Absolutely.
That's very possible.
Yeah.
So
And you're like, well, how can it be? It's like way bigger number.
growth is not like always just good.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's some things to kind of keep an eye out for, I guess, and make sure that you're paying attention to. And if you're not, then like some of these things can sneak up on you and bury you. So just like
And don't do that. Don't get buried.
pay attention to it.
Yeah.
By the time this episode airs, it'll be only about a week away from Deck Expo. So we'll see you down there soon if you're planning on being there. If you're not, you're making a big mistake and you'll probably go out of business. So
Oh, bold
see you next week.
Hey, thank you for listening to the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Now you know what we're about. Check the site, come and shop. UltimateDeckShop.com. Hit us right away for sponsorships or tell us if you want to collaborate. Let's go. Check us out on any social networks. Thank you for listening.